Hello and welcome to Confidently Wrong, a show by regular dudes talking with confidence about content we have no right to speak about with any kind of authority, but do it anyway. I'm Wesley Nakamura, and as always, I'm joined by award-winning director Brian Redondo and Savon Jones, aka Captain Vonnie. This is episode 221, and we react to the conclusion of The Boys. I'm confident that it's going to be the best show you've ever listened to, and well, hey, if it's not, you can always ask us for a refund. Hello, gentlemen. Welcome back. It's Confidently Wrong. Brian is here. Hello, Brian.
I am here. Hello, Wesley.
You took a little hiatus on our last pod. It's good to have you back.
Was it a hiatus or was it more like, I don't need to participate in something I can't talk about?
Very strategic, Brian. Yeah, he's out shunned. Here. DNP old. DNP rest. But actually, I think that's like actually a DNP rest.
That's how you maintain my value.
We gotta keep. Oh man, actually, that might actually be fitting.
Kawhi Redondo over here.
Oh my lord! Somewhere he's getting fake sponsorships, and meanwhile we're out here starving.
Give me that aspiration money.
Exactly.
Yeah, that boy Brian. Really
I aspire to that money.
That boy Brian, a part-time everything.
Hello, Savon. How are you today?
You know, it's Saturday, right? Yeah, something like that.
I love Saturdays. Although every day is Saturday now for me. Woo! Let's go. Summer break.
I thought that meant you got fired.
Oh, no, I didn't get fired. Thank God. Well, what a tough year it was, but we made it through. And now time to relax, recharge, get ready for next year a little bit. Enjoy the summer. All right, let's get into it. We're talking about The Boys. It's final season, and we have had the finale. We know how the season wraps up. If you haven't seen The Boys, make sure you go watch it before we talk about it, because this is literally only going to be spoilers. Let's start it off. So after, 5 seasons, it's probably been about 6 years or so. We've reached the end, gentlemen. How do we feel about it? What were we hoping got accomplished in this series? Did it finally happen? One of our biggest complaints has been that kind of every season just sort of resets it back to where it was. Did you feel like this was going to actually change the status quo in any meaningful way? Were you hoping for that? Savon, what was your hopes for this one?
I mean, I was hoping, but
yeah,
honestly,
you weren't confident even in the final
I was hoping
season?
In like just you have to hope sense, not in like a meaningful, like hope the same way I hope to win the lottery. Like I hope it's going to happen, but gun to my head, hey, Savon, what do you think? The answer is going to be leaning towards the no. I think the previous 4 seasons kind of already set the tone for how I felt about the finale. I was hoping that they would full send it in terms of doing things that shook up the status quo. Somehow they speed ran that issue again in another season. They did it within a season, which is actually impressive. Normally it takes y'all a season to reset the status quo. They did that shit halfway through the final season. So I knew what I expected.
More on that when we get into
it. We'll talk. But okay. I knew what I expected. It was a low bar. That low bar was not particularly met. It was like if you jumped it, but your ankle clipped it and it pulled the whole turtle over. And it's like,
yeah, but you fell over it anyways.
And you're kind of just like, but it was a half-ass leap to begin with. So it's like, it's like the dog leap at the show that like you're just here. We're just here for laughs. This is the sideshow.
Gotcha. This is the toddler leap. My daughter's trying to reach like the leaves of a tree, and the
kids at the halftime show.
Yeah,
the kid's like, all right, cool. Let's get back to the main event. This was not the main event.
Gotcha. Brian, did you feel like what did you expect out of this season?
I mean, like it should be the main event, right?
Yeah.
This show has multiple spin-offs. You guys spent a long time talking about how interesting Gen V was, especially in the last season, and that everything is like building towards this final season of The Boys, and finally, there's an opportunity for the status quo to change, for real stakes, for real twists that have ramifications for the rest of the series. And this is the opportunity, like a final season. Like part of the reason why Lost, which is one of my favorite shows of all time, went off the rails was because they milked that for way too long, even though the writers knew like this has a specific ending, but the network wants us to keep going. And so, they just start spinning their wheels. And it has felt like that through previous seasons of The Boys. So the hope here was that something new was going to transpire. They're going to take the characters that we enjoy and all the shtick of The Boys that we enjoy and actually crank it up to be something more than the sum of its parts. And Savon, like, yo, like the whole poison thread, like mid-season,
You already knew exactly what I was talking about, right?
Like,
you knew exactly what I was talking about when I said
absolutely.
They speed ran
I
it in
had
the same season.
feeling. I had the same feeling as you. I was like, wait, what? Anyway, that is all to say. Like, I guess going into this, my big hope was that Homelander was gonna die, basically, finally, or something. Somebody was gonna die.
Yeah,
we barely got that,
and I guess people did, but like, did it matter? I don't even know.
What do you mean? It mattered? Well, I don't know, my expectations were knowing that it was going to be the final season. All I was going to bank on was like either Homelander wins or Homelander loses, and that's where we're going to be at the end of the season. That's all I expected. I don't know. Like, it was finally going to be good to get a resolution around, hey, do the boys win out, or does Homelander take over and become the all-powerful, like unassailable? I didn't necessarily think they were going to go that far into the God route. I thought he was just going to be, Homelander the tyrant if he ended up winning, and it was just like everybody walking away being like, oh, well, GG's everybody. We're just going to call it a day. If it went that way, I felt like, Huey and Butcher probably had to die at that point or something, or Annie had to die and Huey is a broken man kind of thing. But anyways, I don't know. I mean, I feel like as far as knowing that it was going to be the last season, I mean, to me, they did what they needed to do. Like, they wrapped up, most of the storylines and things like that. Was it particularly engaging? Yeah, at times, and at times maybe not, but we'll talk about that. So I guess you guys have already let the cat out of the bag for yourselves. How did you feel about the overall story for this season? Did you feel like it was a worthy chapter kind of to button it up? I would say this is no season 8 of Game of Thrones. It was much better than that to me in terms of like how the series wraps up. The characters made sense still compared to what they were in the previous seasons, and they didn't just like completely just throw all the logic and things out of the window. There were some things I think that they introduced previously or during the season that they ended up not using. So I think that pointed to a little bit of maybe they weren't 100% sure on how everything was going to go when they kind of threw some of these threads in there. But I mean, nothing is perfect necessarily. And I don't know that this show needed to have that in order to have a satisfying ending.
So much grace from Wes. Like, nothing's perfect, so we'll just accept it and embrace it.
Well, I didn't think it was distracting.
A beautiful snowflake on its own.
Well, like, I want to talk about the Gen Vers later, like that. Like, to me, that's like, it wasn't so distracting that I was like, oh, I can't, like, this is terrible. It was just like, I don't think they quite knew what they wanted to do here, but like, whatever. It's not a big deal because everything else is moving along. I don't know. Savon, what did you think? You got sus face on your face, so
yeah, I thought it was awful.
You obviously felt different. You thought the whole season as a general was awful?
I think that Game of Thrones season 8 was better than this because at least Game of Thrones season 8 had some entertaining spectacle that I was able to turn my brain off and enjoy. I don't think I enjoyed any of this season. Like,
oh, really? Okay.
I think the best part of the season might have been A-Train getting his arc wrapped up, and they killed him in the first episode. And that gave me high hopes for the season of, oh, okay, cool. They're going there, and they're giving us some satisfying character moments. I think the season might have peaked with that, with A-Train's arc wrapping up and his death, which was really satisfying and very full circle. And that probably felt like the only thing that had like a quality thorough line from seasons 1 to 5 in the show. Everything else was awful. They've spent the last 2 seasons of the main show and the spinoff hyping up this virus. It goes not kind of nowhere. Then we go into then the new thing, and we're so us hyping up the virus is going to be the pushing factor of the new season. They built all that up. It becomes a non-factor almost immediately because Soldier Boy lives, which isn't even a cool twist. It's like, oh no, he just his special V makes him invincible. So here's the new MacGuffin halfway through the season. At first it was the virus, now it's this. Then we go on like a weird manhunt in the final season for a new final option that also doesn't work out. He doesn't even have anything different happen with him with the V1. and then we do a half-ass callback to season 3 with the radiation blast, low-key where the show should have ended in the first place. Like, it was just so all over the place, and it was clear that this was written without a final vision in mind, because they're just grasping at random shit. And it just, when I was trying to think through, okay, what are they going to have be the final solution to Homelander? And naturally, it's a show. They're going to give you hints and stuff. We already knew about the Soldier Boy radiation blast, and that was on the table. And they didn't do it in that season, which, again, I think that was the Amazon folks saying, no, we want more show, so drag this shit out more. They had the virus that went nowhere. They had Homelander's public opinion blowing up in his face. That never went anywhere. At this point, he's just killing people on camera, multiple. It's just like there was just so much stuff they were building up through the seasons that didn't pay off or go anywhere. And like every season feels like its own little mini siloed thing without any real connections to the other. And the characters, in my opinion, don't really meaningfully grow or change. Because a lot of their arcs, we talked about this with the last season of The Boys, they're finished. They didn't have anything else left to do or say, and it becomes so obvious. Frenchie doesn't have anything else left to do or say. Kimiko, not really. She can talk, but then that goes into the dialogue falling off the cliff, which is its own conversation. Like, but we're talking story. It wasn't good. Like, it was all over the place. It was jerking you here and there and everywhere. There was no satisfying payoff to shit. Like I was watching it and actively losing
I've never
interest.
seen you so mad about a show, or like so down on a show.
I'm not angry. I'm not angry at all.
Not
I'm just
angry,
like,
just
I'm
down
just
on
like,
a
oh,
show.
this wasn't good. Like, imagine you go to a restaurant, you sit down, you eat the food. It's like, oh, I'm not about to spit it out, but it's like, oh, this shit ain't good. I'm thinking about where I'm gonna go get something else to eat.
This is the most negative take you've had about anything we've watched.
Yeah,
I
am pleasantly surprised.
It wasn't good.
Usually you give them grace. You say like, "Hey, I'm willing to give them a
But
certain
there was
amount of
nothing to
grace,"
give
or
them
like,
grace
I can
about.
realize it wasn't for me, that kind of thing.
But there wasn't anything to give
yeah.
grace about. Like, there wasn't like, oh, they had these weird issues with production, or oh, we had these other, like, it wasn't that. This was all shit that was within their control. They chose to make every character talk like a internet 4chan teenager dropping, even everybody's just dropping the same, whether it's the press, it's like every character talks the same because they're all saying some reason to throw in F-bombs or nuts or dick, or it's just like, dude, I talked about how the show was good at first because it wasn't like the comic, and then it became the comic. And I'm just like, yo, what is this shit? I mean, look,
I don't know.
I could go on about how
I still enjoyed it.
We could go on about how the character deaths were all unsatisfying. Like, who had a good death besides A-Train? Like maybe Firecracker? It was clear that you said they wrapped this shit up, Wes. I'm sorry. I hard disagree. This was like a kid doing a writing assignment, and you had 45 minutes to wrap it up, and you got 10 minutes left, and then you say, okay, well, I gotta wrap this up. So a meteor hits and kills everybody at the end. Like, what were those deaths? The ball gag shit? What? Deep getting stabbed through, a guy who can fly getting stabbed through choked out with a pin at a podcast? Like, what are we doing here? This shit it was clear that the writer said, all right, we got to kill this character off. So what's a quick way we can just it felt like they were ticking boxes the whole season, but also too scared to kill off any of the main characters too. It's like, how do you give all the villains awful, unsatisfying deaths and still be too weenie to do anything of real consequence to the main cast? It's like, yo, man, this shit was awful.
You gotta keep them alive in case it gets rebooted or restarted.
No, don't reboot it. We don't want more. I don't want more of it.
Please no.
And then to top it off, they canceled Gen V, which was the good thing they had going. And then they had them pop up just to drive a van, or just to just to be bus drivers or Uber. Like, come on, man, it's some bullshit. She didn't even get to use her blood powers because they probably didn't have it in the budget, or the writing didn't account for it.
Yeah, they didn't have.
Yeah, they were not used at all. They housed some refugees from Vought Studios or something. Yeah. Maybe.
All right, look, I'm gonna say this last thing. I'm gonna pass because this has got me fired up. Sorry.
That was the most unbelievable part, though. These Vought believers or whatever abandoning Vought. Like, we've seen this in real life. These people do not abandon the cult. Doesn't matter.
A little bit of AB, but and here's the last thing I'll say before I pass to y'all. Like, what the hell were those fight scenes, bro? They looked like just regular people fighting. Like,
oh yeah,
it was just clear that there was a lack of polish and product. It was clear that whoever's making this, it felt like there wasn't any care in it. Because even if you care, you can make the fight scenes more engaging, more cool. every fight scene is just people with cool powers just throwing haymakers at each other, a neck choke, a hair pull, a throw. Then maybe someone uses a power to I don't know, man. It just was
Hasn't it always been like that?
After Butcher
yes, but
loses
it got
his
noticeably
powers,
worse. But the drop in value, we barely see, even a few times not Starfire, Starlight fights, she's barely using her light powers, and it's like, do the writers just not care anymore? Like, even before, she was still sucking up the electricity in the room and doing energy blast. She's out here fist fighting. She's fighting like me. You're just like, okay, I guess. But even stuff like that, Game of Thrones had rule of cool of all right, the writing's falling off a cliff, but this battle scene is one of the best battle scenes I've ever seen. And so that does give it some redemption. I was watching this yo, what am I even watching this for? It's not funny anymore. Not entertaining. The fight scenes aren't even good. I'm watching it because I'm invested. But that's just gambler's logic. All right.
Savon out.
We should just end the pod right here. That was pretty good.
I'm sorry.
I don't think
I
we
didn't mean to just.
Pretty good
look,
take.
Man,
I don't think we could top that, Brian.
No, I got you. I'll pass it. I'll shut up.
Done.
I'll shut up for a bit. No, I'll shut up for a bit.
Right.
That's y'all.
No, I like it, Brian.
So I think a final season or close to final season that is a good comparison to this. Not Game of Thrones season 8, but I'm actually thinking Friends, season 8 or 9 or 10 or any one of those last Friends seasons. And what
Savon
I mean by
didn't watch
that,
Friends.
yeah, there are no black people in Friends.
Weren't they in New York?
Yeah, exactly. But low key, that's the way a lot of people be living. Anyway, a certain class of people. So in those final seasons of Friends, it's same idea. People are really invested in these characters because they've grown to love them for years and years. But the show keeps extending, and the writing nosedives you can't believe, where every single joke has been a joke that we have heard before. Every single character development is basically non-existent because the characters have been flattened so much because the writers just don't know what to do with them anymore, and they basically become caricatures of themselves, these characters, right? Because there's no more terrain to explore with them, and they've been essentialized to basically one or two jokes or ideas that keep getting rehashed over and over and over. And I think that's how I felt throughout this whole season of The Boys, right? It's even Homelander, who is a really fascinating character, played brilliantly by Anthony Starr through and through, but just not a lot of places for him to go. Suddenly he's just a big baby who wants a father or mother figure or whatever over and over and over again, no matter who he's talking to. And you basically know that if you're in a scene with him by yourself, you're gonna die. And without very little else complicating that. And to Savon's point, right? The moment with A Train was the one moment where we get a little bit more, right? Where it feels like, oh, there's stakes, there's nuance, there's conflict, there's some character development happening here between the two characters in the scene. And then A Train gets killed, right? We don't really experience that very much ever again. And I think the same is true with almost all the other characters, right? You think about everything we've been through with Huey, with Starlighter, with Mother's Milk, a lot of that is
full
pretty
government
much
name.
It's pretty much I don't know. They made a big deal out of talking about his name or whatever. All of that kind of gets thrown out the window for the most part. And they introduce ideas for each of them, but I don't think any one gets explored very much. And I think this has been true of the Boys series for several seasons now. And it's sort of just becoming a fixture of the show that that you have to embrace. You're like, we really probably should not have been expecting more than that, because we already knew where the show was at, and that is the show that they gave us. That's the final season that they gave us.
Well,
And
you're sort of
I will
hoping,
say,
maybe you're hoping that in the final season they don't have to like
yeah,
preserve the characters for extending reasons, right? This is the end, and so now they can actually like write the story they want to write. And so I
that was
guess,
the hope.
yeah,
That
you'd
was
be
the hope.
hoping,
Yeah, you want to take them somewhere.
Yeah.
You
And
want
I
them to
don't
live to
think
the
they
finale.
delivered on that. Instead, I think we got another season 4, basically. And of course, there are memorable moments. There are individual isolated scenes that are like fun and interesting. Maybe a bit of dialogue that's hilarious or whatever. But I don't think, taken as a whole, it's all that satisfying,
Interesting.
because it just like didn't really go anywhere.
I don't necessarily disagree. I think like the evidence that you're using, I think that I would say there were parts of it though that did feel like growth for me. So like Huey actually being willing to shoot Butcher at the very, very end in that little epilogue that didn't need to happen.
Which like made no sense, like, because they had this whole argument about Starlight and Kamiko and whether or not they wanted to live, and they're like, no, but we don't want to live forever, and like all this other stuff. And like they were also on board with doing the most awful things. Like Kamiko was radiating herself. Like all of a sudden, like Huey's against the virus guy. I don't know, it just felt really pat.
There wasn't time to let it cook. That's all. Like, it's cool
And
ideas.
it's like, okay, yeah, he's gonna shoot him now, but like they had taken us in so many different directions with the poison, or with the virus, that like,
well, but now,
it
but
did
like,
not feel earned, and it did not feel like a progression of an idea. It didn't feel like a progression of a character. It just like, it's like, okay, yeah, like I guess Huey was against this earlier.
no, it wasn't that.
Does it matter?
Oh, I mean, yeah, sort of. I mean, I feel like it mattered in terms of Huey being able to have empathy for Butcher, but also be the one who kills him. That's hard, right? Like that's a
Okay.
crazy thing
So,
to do for someone
makes
that is
sense.
your friend. And I thought that like in previous seasons he wouldn't have been able to. He's had chances to like harm people
And
or whatever.
How did
in
he
the,
grow?
In the best,
How did he arrive at that point?
He was killed people
is my
before.
question.
He was
Right?
absolutely killed
Like
folks
how
before.
how did Huey like reach that new level of change? Right?
think
Did he, like,
because-
what did the show show us?
well,
Like,
I think
what
several
happened
times.
to Huey? Like nothing happened.
I mean, I disagree. I think throughout the season, you were seeing him like grow into, okay, I can actually like be the moral compass of this. They had that scene where the mind reader guy made it appear like he was Jeffrey Dean Morgan's character, the former
Kessler,
partner CIA guy.
Kessler,
Yeah.
Butcher's old homie.
And kind of made it plain to everyone that this idea of, it's almost like self-criticism, right? Because he's actually inside Butcher's head, and understanding what Butcher thinks that Kessler would say to him, but made it plain that like Butcher is always willing to go to the extra mile, to the extra step, and sometimes he needs somebody to actually say that's actually far enough. Like you've taken this too far. And I think at that point at the very end, right, that Huey is now like, that makes sense that this is my role, and like I'm gonna do that for you because this is actually something that you want and need.
So I guess the issue with that, Wes, is that like, and Butcher even said it, I don't know if that's like Huey. I don't know if that's Huey's character arc. Like, his arc hasn't been him changing. His arc has been not changing. I would argue Huey has been the most consistent character in the series because his entire character arc is getting dragged into this world with it's literally the worst possible people across both sides, and him being, because Huey didn't suddenly become like, his arc wasn't really becoming a moral compass. That was literally always his role in
Right.
the show. Like even from
Yeah.
season 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it was always,
That's
hey
not what I'm
guys,
saying,
maybe we
though.
shouldn't do the work. My point is that like what I'm saying with Brian is like, yeah, sure, that was always Huey's role with him and Butcher, but like even if it makes sense for his character, like the narrative payoff and build up just wasn't really satisfying. Like we had done the stuff, we killed Homelander, okay, it's over, but now it just feels like, okay, the virus is still a factor. What do we do about it? And yeah, we know Butcher's a nutcase and we'll go the little extra mile, but like it was the execution of it. Was the so he just leaves, takes the virus, leaves the case out. Huey finds it, finds him in the like. It just felt like they were drawing the line from here to here because we gotta just advance the plot, and like that's where the lack of it being earned didn't feel good. Like Huey having to kill Butcher because Butcher goes too far is something I think a lot of us maybe felt coming narratively, but if the setup and execution wasn't well done, then it kind of like, again, it feels like to me, just because you tick the box of a thing happening doesn't mean that you did it in a way that was satisfying or paid off narratively, which, again, that really feels like this season as a whole. Like, yeah, we technically wrapped up the story, yeah, but like if you wrapped it poorly, then okay, I guess.
Yeah, actually, if there's something that felt like Game of Thrones season 8, it's Huey killing Butcher. That is very much Jon Snow killing Daenerys, and I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever.
I guess it had to happen. Like we knew it had to happen, but it's like,
yeah,
you got to make the payoff good. So you can't just do the thing that you were building up to. You have to execute it well, and that was where. And again, and here's the thing: there were some character moments that were good, but like I'm realizing maybe because it dragged on too long. But at a certain point, I've been stopped caring about the Butcher, Huey relationship because Butcher's just so unapologetically awful, and he's not going to change. That I kind of started to lose interest. Like, and there were other, but that being said, there were other relationships I enjoyed, like Kimiko and Frenchie. They ran out of material seasons ago, and Ben should have been written out the show. But like, I will say a high point of this season was MM and Starlight. Those two, even in previous seasons, have always had very interesting, cool interactions. Whether it was her learning about why he's so OCD, or him trying to give her the pep talks, and those two both just passing the vape back and forth because they going through it. Like, there were definitely some character through line moments that they were able to kind of do, but the lack of consistency just hurts, man. Sorry, this shit was just they were like rushing.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that was all present. To me, I don't know. I guess I was willing to be more invested in the story because everything was sort of revolving around taking down Homelander, and this thing, not like you said, the virus ended up not being something that they could do. Then this other thing happened, right? Like every episode was this build up to, we are having to take down Homelander, and Homelander is actually getting stronger now, and he's getting more formidable, and that to me was investing because like, oh, like I don't actually know that you're going to be able to do this. I actually think like we're leading to a place where it is possible that Homelander actually wins the day. And I don't know, to me that was like interesting in and of itself, because how do you take down this guy? And you're seeing Homelander also start to buy into, he's a god, he's doing this thing, right? And he's less tactical. He loses Sage, and he's like, well, maybe there's something there around, he's going to make a mistake in some way. And it turns out that he does, right, in small ways, but the way, like the way that they built that up, it was like, oh my god, like Homelander just seems unbeatable at this point. He's he's ready to stop them in this way or that way, and then he had this weakness, but now he doesn't have this weakness anymore. So there's a lot of things where it's like, how are these how are the boys going to actually take him down? And seeing that was like, I'm okay with that. I think the way that they wrapped it up and the way that they ended up actually beating him was, to me, it was okay. And
you didn't feel kind of ass pull. Like the solution came in the second to last episode towards the end. Like that didn't feel kind of pulled out of nowhere. Like Ryan ended up not being the solution. The virus ended up being a dud. Public opinion ended up a dud. But then Kimiko, like, so you had, I'm just asking, like, genuinely, like Kimiko last second, okay, we're going to do this radiation Hail Mary. That didn't feel like, okay, we gotta give him something. Because to me, that was very, like, when I realized, that's the plan, I was like, oh, this is extremely narratively unsatisfying. Because the hell are these last 2 seasons for? We could have did this shit at the end of the Soldier Boy season. Like,
Also, like Kimiko being on board with it suddenly, also weird. Considering what happened in the like previous episodes with her, wanting to get a peaceful life somewhere, hide on an island or whatever, and her and Frenchie going in different directions, and like suddenly she's like, yeah, sign me up for this radiation. And then the radiation also, like the way that they like introduced the idea was just like, well, we're doing this now. Like it didn't really like come from anywhere. We're doing this now, and we're doing it, and like we cracked it by
an
how,
episode
right?
and some
Like
change.
they even like say in the episode like, oh, this took decades for the Soviets to do, but yeah, we're gonna do it in an episode.
Because we have
Like,
Sage, which,
which
pushes the boundaries of like suspending your disbelief of like, okay, the writers are banking on you feeling, okay, Sage is the smartest person ever. She can help speed track it. And here's the thing. Maybe and this is where it's like the pacing and storytelling matters of maybe you could do that if you have like a little bit of a mini time skip or a montage or something to kind of show the work being put in. But when it's just kind of like hand wave, Sage is smart, we'll just skip to it. Those are the little pacing moments that make things that could feel earned not feel earned. And so, we see a few scenes of her getting irradiated, Brian, but like, okay, so that's like the setup for the ending to all this. Like, maybe if they had been doing it all season or they've been hinting at it the last season, then maybe it feels like, okay, this was a Hail Mary, but they've been back pocketing this. But it's just the way I don't even think it's what happens, it's how it happens. And it's just like,
none of that bothered me.
smooth brain. Also, if Sage really felt like the smartest character in the show, I would also like go with this story plot a little bit more. But the fact that she just felt like really underutilized, and the writers aren't smart enough to know how to make somebody seem really smart and strategic, like that totally killed my suspension of disbelief. I was like, I don't know how Sage is helping in this. She doesn't seem to have answers.
Does she have a lab or something? Or no? Like, it was just one of those, you can make it work, but you got to give us the dressing to kind of make it land. You can't just throw one line of dialogue and then that's just supposed to be, okay, cool, we've established it. And then there's, like you gotta sell it. And they couldn't, a lot of the stuff is like, oh, you're not selling me on this. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Wes, because I was actively struggling to figure out what am I positively taking. I mean, even the Soldier Boy shit, like, so we end up with Soldier Boy frozen 3 times in this show now. Come on, bro. Come on. Like, y'all didn't roll your eyes when a dope moment of Soldier Boy saying, all right, well, you're weird and I don't really like you. I did it for this reason. I'm about to go do drugs and smash my way across South America. I'm like, it's actually really in character. And like, okay, this is actually they even had a chance to have a cool character moment of, maybe that sends, that maybe that makes Homelander do X, Y, Z. He just chokes him out and puts him back on ice. And I'm like, okay, so 3 times we've had this happen with this character now. Like, just shit like that, man. Just feels like they were in the writer's room and said, all right, well, we got to do something with this character. All right, he's back on ice. I'm like, okay. Yes.
That definitely felt like that there could have been more done with that, for sure.
I felt like that was I mean, a few, like Firecracker got a good death. Like, I think she had a high point death in the thing.
Shoo! That was rough.
Yeah, but again, it was like actually good. Also, to be clear, as much as I'm dumping on this season, the actors were great. I had pretty much no complaints about the actors. I think they were given bad material and writing to work with, but like, never was I watching the actors themselves and saying, oh man, what an awful performance. Like, even the boys with a lot of the really awful dialogue, I still was like, the actors are cooking. Like, Laz Alonso is MM, Tomer, guy who plays Frenchie, like, Butcher kind of becomes a parody of himself, but even like even Starlight and her, like, sad girl moments, like, I thought, oh, that shit was cool. But so I do want to highlight the actors as doing great jobs. But yeah, man, like,
Firecracker was good.
She was really good she was the most hateable character. But man, the way they did her little arc of turning on her church and her small background and giving up everything for Homelander just to be tossed in the end, like, that was really good shit. So like, we know that there's moments where they can shine, but to your point, Brian, when the writing's just mostly become a parody of itself, those moments are going to be far and few in between. And it's even old father, David Diggs' character was really interesting. Like, he had moments of like, oh, I see that there's like something deeper here. Like, even the moments where he clearly isn't totally on board with the Homelander stuff, and you can see the genuine reluctance in his voice, and it's like, oh man, this is good acting. They could really take this somewhere if the show just had a little more focus. So like, it's a shame that such good acting performances were sullied by just I'm sorry, just low tier writing.
Fair enough. There was certainly a lot of, Donald Trump parallels, right, between Homelander and Donald Trump that have been sort of baked into the show. Did How did any of that land for you, Brian? Were you just like, oh my god, they're doing too much of this? Were you like, hey, this is like the people just got to see it plain in clear view? What did you think about the writer's willingness to make Homelander more and more of a Trumpian character?
I think it's sort of veered into a weird direction, right? With like Homelander becoming Jesus, or like taking the place of Jesus.
Wait,
or
I
whatever.
know the writers were mad about that though, because they must have planned that right last year. They shot it last year, and then this year, during the show or right before the show comes out, Trump posts a picture of himself as Jesus. They're like, God damn it, we can't even like outdo ourselves here.
The writers straight up said, damn. Like, the writers were actually on the record saying, yeah, that really kind of fucked things up for us. It's like, hey, we wrote this several times. They had to clarify, hey, we wrote this way ahead of before all this happened. Like, that's the only thing, Wes, I will give them people grace on, is that
they were trying to over exaggerate it, and Trump just goes past that.
They underestimated that Trump would compare himself to the Pope and Jesus, and you know what? That's y'all's fault. But I'll give you some semblance of grace, because who could have seen that shit coming? Somebody, but
the writers saw it coming.
I mean, they Homelander in this is, he's just sort of like a baby, right? And throws tantrums and says, I want this and I want that and I want people to love me. And then but mixing in the whole like, oh, I'm meant to be the savior or whatever. I know that like Trump says stuff like that and his sycophants will say like, oh yeah, only Trump can save the economy, only Trump can bring world peace and whatever. I don't like, it's weird, like in The Boys, Homelander believes it after he has that vision of what's her face, Madeline like coming down from heaven to greet him with her milk. And maybe I'm naive, like I don't get the sense that Trump like believes that he is like, that he's Jesus, but he loves having the power, and he will do and say anything to make his power ultimate and absolute. So I like, it's interesting that the show went to this other place where it's so kind of like hard to even unpack like what's going on with Homelander. Like he's so like drunk on himself, which is very very Trump like. But this like even like more extreme idea of him actually being some sort of messiah, I think that was like an interesting place to take it. And maybe not like tactically though, the things that they put in place for Homelander's wishes to be met though, that's where things are very one-to-one. It's like, yeah, that's exactly what's going on. Like people are rounded up, people are like the true believers are being sussed out, and like anybody that's not a believer is snuffed out, and all of that kind of stuff is very much a huge parallel to the world that we live in. And I really hope that Trump does not believe that he is that he is God, essentially. Because then we're we're gonna have even worse times. Like
Nah,
there
he's just
are
an
other
S-tier finesser.
theocracies where they believe that kind of thing, but they lack some of the ability to enact what they want to do. You know, the American president having those resources and abilities, that's a whole different order of problems.
Mm-hmm. Which that reminds me, Brian. I don't know if y'all noticed this on the promotional materials of this season. I don't know if y'all ever saw any, and this is again another just, come on, man, what are y'all doing? They always keep hyping up like Homelander's gonna do some awful thing that's gonna be the point of no return. And I felt like he's done worse stuff in other seasons by far than whatever he did this season. And
Yeah, there
I
wasn't
felt like they kept
anything
pump faking, like
crazy
saying, "Oh
this season that
man,
he did.
he's really gonna do it this time, and really
Yeah.
gonna
Go off the handle. Yeah.
And then they kept showing posters that would be, if I remember this. In fact, if you Google The Boys season 5, like just trailer, poster material, whatever, you always would see these trailers of like Homelander in space, floating, looking down on the planet, and it's a bunch of burned, destroyed cities and shit. And
Oh,
like,
really?
yes, and they
So the
clearly.
things they thought they were going to use and didn't end up using.
What I'm saying is that we were misled, and they kept trying to hype us up to make us think that the status quo would shift or things would happen in this world in a way that's like, oh man, things will never be the same. And they never actually pulled the trigger on it because whatever reasons you pick your beef with the show. But the fact that you see the entire destroyed cities in the promotional material, tell me if I'm tripping, that gives me the impression, oh man, Homelander looking down on a bunch of destroyed cities on the planet. Oh, it's about to get crazy. Oh man, this is gonna be some next level shit. And we got exactly none of that. The White House wasn't even in that bad condition after the fight. Trump construction probably tore up the White House more than that fight did. Like, let's be real. The office was kind of messed up. Like, I'm like, shit, I didn't see college dorm rooms take more punishment than that Oval Office after their little meta fight. Like, but again, it's just one of those, I don't know what was going on behind the scenes, whether they were afraid to have Homelander go full crazy or whatever it is, but like, they've been pump faking for years of this show now. This is it, where Homelander, the facade is broken and there's blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, dude, frankly, I feel like they softened Homelander up as the seasons went by in terms of him doing awful shit. And it's like, oh man, that was just another one of those, like, if you're gonna make it stick, you gotta really like not be afraid to full send it. And why the hell are we spending the last season looking after fucking new versions of Compound V? Why the hell is half this season a setup for their spinoff show?
Which spinoff show?
Vought Rising? Have y'all heard about that?
No.
Ryan, have you?
I saw the title. I didn't read what.
So Wes, do you know any of this?
No.
Oh, you're gonna love this. So
is this where the Stan Edgar storyline comes in?
No, this is a prequel series for Soldier Boy and his OG people and them back in the day and Stormfront now. Halfway through the season, if you recall, when they were searching for the V1, they were going into places with the original V, and they had, Soldier Boy at the old lab he was at. And if you recall, Soldier Boy is kind of reminiscing on other people that was there, his brother.
That's how he knew about the radiation chamber thing.
Yes, exactly. It test you against a bomb. The guy who was welded up to the wall with the tree Last of Us thing going on, and like clearly Soldier Boy knew him from back in the day. Us seeing that guy Bomb Sight who had the original V1, like, and clearly these characters all have history. This is all them, I believe, setting up and planting the seeds. Even a scene where Soldier Boy was like crying and breaking down. It's like, oh, where is this coming from? I think that's them setting up stuff for the Vought Rising show that's going to be, I guess, more just the original heroes in World War One and how their shit went. So I guess more Bomb Sight, more Stormfront, more Soldier Boy and other folks. But here's the thing. Why the hell are we getting this in the series finale of a show that already infamously lacked direction sometimes? Like, were y'all watching that episode and felt like, what is this? Why are we getting promos in the final season? Like, did anyone else notice that? Because that also took me out of it mid-episode. I was like, what? Why are we introducing this new shit? Well, I don't care about Bomb Sight. Like,
oh, I see.
To me, it just felt like randomness.
That's them promoting their new show coming out while simultaneously canceling the interesting one, Gen V. It's just like their priorities just felt all over the place. Of like, we got this show that's written in that we're canceling and also making its plot less relevant. But also, we're introducing this new show that's going to be a flashback show. So we need to introduce these new characters. Hey, let's do it now in the final season. Also, Soldier Boy's probably gonna pop up in there. Isn't there some kind of like The Boys Mexico show or something coming up too?
Los
What?
Chicos.
Is that what
Los
it's called?
Niños. I don't know.
Oh no, it's Spanish. You're making a funny.
I'm making a funny.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm too angry to make funnies right now because these people are killing me.
But I did want to follow up on the point that you made earlier about Homelander not going far enough. Yeah, in the background that was in my head as well. It's like the worst thing that we saw Homelander do throughout this whole series. It's like the two things, right? It's like the airplane moment. What was that, season 1 or season 2?
The literal inception
season
of
1,
the show.
right?
It's the inception of everything about the show.
And then when Homelander kills, a civilian publicly, and I believe that was season 3, right? And it never really escalates more than that, right? And you'd imagine with him consolidating his power and making it more absolute, the stuff where it's like, okay, this just parallels the world that we live in, right? Like they
you're
have
evil, but your government
concentration
evil.
camp. Yeah, it's a little different. It's a little different. If he started publicly executing people, that would be like a new order of magnitude, right? And I guess like the show banks on you understanding that Homelander is dangerous, and we all know that very well and good. But I do think part of the reason why, to me, his character felt like it ran out of places to go was because, to Savon's point, maybe the writers were unwilling to take him to new places, right? Unwilling to show the lengths that this guy could go to, right? If his power was unchecked. It all just amounted to, like propaganda campaigns and, like you said, like just like government evil shit that we are very well accustomed to in our normal world. And so it, maybe it sort of like lacks that push to take the show into, a new level, something that we haven't seen before.
Yeah, I put in the chat, he's like a bureaucratic Viltrumite. It's like, yo, man, the Viltrumites are terrifying because they get hands-on, they get dirty. If a Viltrumite wants to kill you, he ain't gonna send you to a camp and have the government do it. He gonna do the little hand chop and call it a day. But and to be clear, it made Homelander super evil, just in a way that doesn't elevate his threat as a superhuman. Like, he's evil the way we already know governments can be evil, but like, I don't think that's would have been what pushed it over the edge, because it's like, okay, well, that's real life. Like, that combined with, okay, he'll just laser you or just punch you and kill you is, yeah, I don't know. I think they softened him up a little bit. He was just being weird more this season than tyrannical. And the weird is fine, but I think the ratio was off a little bit. Like, I wanted a little bit more violent Psycho Homelander more than weird Messiah complex all over the place Homelander. Yeah.
All right. Did this, Savon? Clearly, you did not like this. Brian, you also did not.
What would you give that impression?
I honestly, I thought it was fine. What does this like? I remember leaving season 8 of Game of Thrones feeling like, Jesus, like I just did not enjoy this, and I don't want to go back and rewatch this show ever. Like, as great as those first 3 or 4 seasons were, I have no interest in going back and rewatching any of it, because I'm like, I know where this leads, and it leads in a dumb place. Did you leave with that sort of reaction of like, wow, this really tanked my appreciation for the show, and I'm happy to let it die now?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this show killed it. Yeah, I don't think this season killed the show for me. I think the show was on a steady decline, and this was just like the exclamation point of like, okay, cool. 3 was like, all right, they're kind of getting a little spinning the wheels. 4, they did more of it. 5, they quadrupled. They're like, all right, cool. I'm glad this is done.
Interesting.
It's one of those
Brian,
cool. It was fun. I'm glad it's over. I will not be revisiting.
Yeah, I mean, like the show proved, like this season proved that ultimately this is a silly show. Like we should not take this show seriously at all.
Yeah.
And that the maybe the first season was the exception rather than the rule, right? And I think going into this, I've felt the inverse of that, where I was like hoping that the last couple seasons were the exception, but they are actually the status quo of what this show is. And so yeah, I don't think it's worth revisiting at all, really. Like
Interesting.
I think maybe Gen V is probably the more interesting show.
The pop culture
Because
references are going to age like milk too. Like it's such a right now show that even earlier seasons start to feel like, oh dang, that was so long ago. And I do think when your show is too stamped into the current time period and the references are way too. How many times do we hear the joke? Like we get it. Conservatives don't like woke, trans, immigrant, whatever. And it's like, okay, that joke, is that going to still be I mean, the joke was barely funny now, contemporary. Is that going to be a funny joke 5 years from now, rewatching the show? Like, I don't think so.
I hope the world will have changed by then.
We'll see. I don't know, the way that this season, I think one, that we knew it was going to end, and the way that this show stayed really laser focused on their planning to try and take down Homelander helped keep me invested. I think this was probably the most I've ever been for the boys, wanting to be like, yeah, let me watch the next episode. Like I'm ready for the next episode now, or like, oh man, I got to go to bed, but like I really wish I could watch one more episode. I didn't get bored this season in the way that you guys are describing, and yeah, maybe it's like smooth brain or whatever, but it just felt like episodically something was happening to keep my interest or to set up the next thing that I was like, okay, yeah, like I want to watch the next thing. I want to find out what happens next. So I think in that regards, to me, that was pretty successful in terms of like putting on television. I think you're right that there definitely could have been things that were better executed. I'm not saying like it was perfect television, but for me, I was like, yeah, I want to see what happens next. Like, let me see the next thing. Or like, oh man, how are they going to deal with Homelander now? Or like, what is this going to happen? They really had this big setback, or who's going to come through for them here. I thought Father was going to actually sort of take a turn and like see the light. He did not. Never saw the light. That man. I was surprised
like
that I was surprised that
it's-
Ashley did. Honestly,
it's an entertaining show, right? Like, is it like moment to moment?
yeah.
There are things that spark up, and you're like, oh, okay, I appreciate that. And I think the way that you're watching it, to me, is like kind of like how, and my experience with the show as well is like very similar. Right? Like I'm like down to watch a little bit more. It's kind of like me watching a sketch comedy show like Saturday Night Live. It's like they're not all gonna be hits, but like every now and again there's like a good sketch, and I'm like, and I'm looking them as sketches, right? These are all just like individual pieces that really don't add up to anything more than that. But the individual pieces might be good by themselves. Like the scene with Seth Rogen and his friends, like who happen to be at the house of that speedster, like that's funny. That was funny. I'm not denying that. But did it like do anything otherwise for the overall arc of the show or the season? Maybe not so much. But I enjoyed it. And that's kind of how I feel about a lot of the season. Where there are these individual things that are cool. But they just don't really add up to anything that I feel like is worth revisiting.
Someone can watch a whole episode to get to those parts. Although Ashley saying I did nothing wrong and I'll be resuming office, then cut to her getting impeached, that was really, really funny.
That's funny. Yeah.
Huey impersonating Butcher during the smoke and saying,
Oh, yeah.
cunt, fucking diabolical. That was really funny. Like, there's definitely the fact that there was a supernatural reunion scene with the speedster, Soldier Boy, and the other guy from their show.
I didn't know about that until I saw it on YouTube.
Yeah, that was a funny little meta joke. Even Edgar saying it'll be a memorable reunion. I'm like, okay, y'all have these little funny moments, but don't make me watch this whole show to get to those funny moments. Like, if that's the case, give us more of that diabolical Amazon animated show that was literally just shorts in the boys' world with the nonsense, but not trying to make me care about a larger story that they clearly can't write. Like, I'm with you, Brian. Give me more of that. Give me diabolical, but live action. I'd watch that.
Give me sketches.
Yeah,
It's
skits.
basically what we're getting. Yeah.
Well, I don't think we need to ask any more questions. I feel like we all know where we stand.
What would you rate this, Wes? Yeah, I want to rate it.
Wes is going 95 out of 100.
No. I'm trying to think. I feel like out of 5, this whole season, I don't know, to me it feels like maybe just a little over 3.5, but not a 4. Not a 4. Enjoyable. I don't know. I enjoyed it.
I felt disrespected as a viewer. There were parts where I'm like, oh, these people really don't respect me in my time
right now.
There were moments where I felt like, oh, these people don't respect me. I think I'm about to watch this shit.
I felt fine. I just rewatched sped run through the last episode. I was like, yeah, this moment is cool. This moment is cool. Like, yep, that happened. I was mostly just trying to remind myself of the things that happened. I was like, yeah, like that's awesome. Good job, guys. The only part that like was silly to me really at the very, or that was, I was like, was Ashley sort of jumping in to save the day and like saving them from this like murder pit that they walked into. It was like, oh, that was too easy.
That's what you draw the line.
Get out of that. That one to me felt like that didn't need to happen that way. But I don't know how else you were going to do that, so it was fine. Whatever. They could have done it a different way and got in with their superpowers instead of sneaking in through a murder hole. They literally got trapped into like a caged situation, a caged corral where they were fish in a barrel, and somehow all the guards missed shooting them. Unclear. And then Ashley saves the day, and that was her moment of like, I don't know, what would you call it? Like, finally, she had the guts to act in the right moral way. I don't know. That part did take me out of it a little bit. I was like, nah, that wouldn't happen that way.
At the 11th hour, he was taking.
I did enjoy the banter between her and the back of her head. Back Bashley. What is back Ashley? I think that's what they call her, Bashley. That part was good. Good times. All right, friends. I don't know. Savon, what would you rate it? Are you at a 2? Are you at a 1?
I'll give it.
This is gonna be our first ever 1 out of 5.
This is letter grade. I'm just giving this shit a D. Like, I need them to understand that if you were to bring this letter home to your parents, you wouldn't be happy to show them that. That is how I feel about this show.
Why not just F?
If you were to turn this in, because like a F is like you didn't unfinish, is like you didn't even turn nothing in. This is, hey, you turn something in, and I need you to understand this is D quality. And it's like, hey, how would you feel if you had to tell your parents or someone you cared about, hey, this is, I worked on this and this is what they gave me. And if you feel shame, a lot. That's the feeling I'm like, cool, that's why you got a D. A C might be like, yeah, we did all right. No, I don't want you to think you did all right. I need you to understand you didn't fail, but you turned something in and it was not of quality. And so a D.
That to me is an F. You got an F.
F is like you didn't do the assignment.
Is this the lowest grade that you've ever handed out?
This is one of the worst things I've seen in a hot little minute. Like the last
was
thing
this
I remember,
worse than Peacemaker?
I'm so glad we talked about this.
I know you didn't like Peacemaker.
I didn't like Peacemaker. Honestly,
the last season.
Honestly, this is worse than Peacemaker. I don't know. They both kind of had the same issues. Ooh, I don't know. I think this feels worse because this was a longer ride. That
worse than and better than.
Honestly, bro, this might be one of the worst things I've watched in like a hot little minute. Because most other stuff that I don't watch that's bad, I know it's bad, so I don't even subject myself to it. This was very much I kind of have something resembling expectations and was just objectively, like even Andor, right? Like I've said Andor is good, it's just boring to me, but it's not a bad show. This show was bad and boring.
Worst take you've ever had, by the way.
What?
I said that's the worst take you've ever had, by the way.
Okay, if that's my worst take is saying that if my worst take is that it's good but not for me, then that's I think that's a pretty good place to be, especially with y'all. Boring. Yeah, but that's to me. I like Star Wars for fighting, but yeah, it's down there, Brian. Like I'm genuinely trying to think, what have I watched lately that's like, oh man, this is some objective bullshit.
Dry.
This is our best episode we've ever done.
I was only watching. Like there was a point where I actually was like, okay, I gotta watch the last episode of The Boys. I actually rather be doing literally anything else. I was like, I low-key rather apply for jobs right now than spend an hour plus watching this shit. I had to stop to just wash some dishes because I was like, this is so boring. The epilogue, I had to take a break because I was like, all right, I can only.
They didn't need the epilogue.
It's a D.
I know. It's like there's more. No.
I'm like, oh my god. You know what? This
And
is
then
funny.
MM is getting married in the same cemetery that they just buried Butcher in.
I like they
Oh
took.
my
I like
God.
that he took in Ryan. It was like little moments, but like I said, just no payoff. Anyways, yeah, bad. Brian, what do you think? I could.
I will say it's bad, but not boring. So I'm giving this like a 62 out of 100, which to me is
Also a
not
D.
a failing. That is not a failing grade.
That's a D.
It might be a D, but it's not. I don't think it's. I'm not on the side of this is like the worst thing I've ever watched in recent memory, because we're gonna talk about one that's worse.
So this about to be a real. We about to really be in disagreement. Oh, this is great.
Like I said, I think there are many parts of this show that I found entertaining, and there's always something interesting happening, but I just don't think it all adds up to much, right?
Enough,
This is a smooth brain show. This is a phone show. This is let me like handle some daily task that I got to do
Like
while this thing is on, and it's fine. It's totally fine. But
All
yeah,
right.
the best of the boys long behind us.
Facts.
All right, we can say goodbye to the boys. We hardly knew ye. See you later, guys.
Farewell.
No, we knew you. We knew you well enough to say cool.
All right. Well, follow us on Instagram at comfortably_pod. We're also on YouTube. You can watch our episodes there and see Savon's eyes rolling so far back into his head. I think he might have injured one of his cranial nerves here in the bottom of his eyes. It was quite the
full
epic
360.
epic performance by Savon's facial muscles here today.
Sorry, man. That was some
Friends,
bullshit.
we're out of here. Next, we're going to talk about Mandalorian and Grogu. So if you haven't seen that, or you just want to hear a take, keep an eye out for that. I think we might also just do a quick snippet, maybe on Spider Noir that just came out, just to do it, and maybe a little 1 minute thought on I was gonna call it Maul Shadow Lord, not Small Shadow Lord, Maul Shadow Lord, because me and Savon both finished it, and just maybe a little 1 minute take. So look for that on our next pod, friends. We're out here. See you later. Bye.